Rev up your engines!
If you remember a few days ago, I made a video about an older woman who had purchased a brand new Toyota Tacoma at a Toyota dealership here in Houston and was told by the salesman that the sales price was $31,000, only to be shocked when she signed documents and then weeks later got her first bill and it was more than she expected, so she looked and they had added almost $12,000 to the price of the truck. She went back. The salesman denied that he said that, said you signed the contract. I made that video showing how she'd been ripped off. Well, I do have to say, the Toyota dealer made things right after I made my video. Here's an email from them. Scotty, I wanted to let you know that Toyota just cut a check for almost $12,000 from my mother. That put everything right at the original agreement. My mom's so happy. She wanted to tell you, thank you very much. So Toyota did her right. You can't blame Toyota themselves. Salesman at the dealership was the one that had taken advantage of her. The dealership, after they saw my video, did refund her the difference, almost $12,000. Toyota itself, remember that some of the Tacomas in the past had rotten frames, they gave a lot of people free frames. Took the whole vehicle off, put them on a new frame because they had problems with the frames. Unlike a lot of companies, will fix their mistakes. Originally, I guess the salesman was just denying the whole thing. Well, they decided to give her the difference. It was almost $12,000. Kudos for them to giving her money back. Can't take advantage of elderly people. I mean, the woman was in her 60s and her husband was 82 years old. The moral of this story is always read the contracts tightly. Don't listen to what anybody says and do not sign anything until you read the price and it's there. Don't sign a document where the price is empty. Make sure it's all filled in. And even when you have a contract like that, get your phone. Take a picture of it. You sign a contract that says one number, you get charged another, you got that picture of it. Well, it's the end of an era. GM just built the last Chevy Impala that they're ever going to make. Well, at least that they say they're going to make now. Who knows? People are always bringing things back like bad movies, you know? But the last one was about Cherry Red. And Joe Nikoski, who's 63, who's been working there for 40-something years, and about 129 other guys are retiring at the end of the week. Kind of a shame. When I was young, we had an Impala. It was a great car, but of course that was back in the 1960s. And unfortunately, they haven't been great cars for quite some time if you've been listening to me. Now, this particular factory, it's going to be retooled for $2.2 billion in the next year, and they're going to make just electric vehicles. It's not that they're just not making Impalas. They're not making any internal combustion engines there. They're going to make electric vehicles. Here's something that I have to say about that. Everybody's jumping gung-ho into this electric car stuff. There's no infrastructure for it. Just the other day, the coronavirus attacked the stock market. Tesla went up from $900-something a share to down to $600 a share. Anybody that thinks these electric cars are a stable investment, I think they got rocks in their head. They throw that kind of money into something that may or may not pan out in the short run and realize in the United States, most businesses, they're not like the Japanese where they think decades down the line. They're thinking the next quarter to keep the investors happy. So if you're going long-term with electric cars, but you're in an economy where talking about short-term, next quarter of the year profits, I don't know if that's going to work out all that well. We'll see what the future will bring with that. I mean, if you look at the history of GM and electric cars, not such a shining past. Let's hope they have better quality of the electric cars than they have with the internal combustion engines that they've been making the past couple of decades. Trump 7 says, Scotty, I'm looking to buy a 2002 Chevy pickup with a 4.3 engine for $800. It is 200,000 miles. Do you think it's a good buy? What issues do they have? It's an 02. They were better made in those days. But let's face it, we live in the real world. I don't know. Maybe you don't. But I do. Especially when it comes with machines. $800 for a truck is nothing these days. 200,000 miles in it. I'm sure it's got problems. Probably all kinds of problems. But drive it around a little. Take it on a highway. Drive it in town. Back it up. Take left turns, right turns. Turns the heat on. Turn the air conditioning on if it has any, if it even still works. It runs good enough. $800 is nothing these days. But I'm assuming it's got problems because not too many people are going to sell a full-size truck for $800 unless it's got some serious problems. But you never know. You know, drive it around. What the heck? If it lasts for a few months, $800, you're going to rent a car and cost you tons more than that. Just don't buy a truck like that and think you're going to drive it 20,000 miles a year and not put a ton of money into it. You got to use your head when you're buying something. 931 says, Scotty, I'm interested in used SUVs under 10 grand. Any suggestions? Yeah, well, there's a lot of people like you looking for vehicles like that. SUVs are, as far as I'm concerned, totally overpriced because they're popular, so people get a lot of money for them. Now, if you absolutely positively have to get an SUV, luxury and you want one that's going to last a really long time, you either get a Toyota or a Lexus. But for 10 grand, you're going to have to buy one that's relatively old with relatively high mileage because they just go for a whole bunch of money. Now, you can find stuff like Ford Explorers and stuff all day long for under 10 grand, but they won't last 1/4 of the time that the Toyotas. I've got customers, they have bought used American SUVs for that reason. They'd say, on the Toyotas and Lexuses and even the Hondas, they were super expensive, but I could get this Ford or the Chevy one a lot cheaper. I said, yeah, there's a reason that they go for a lot less money. But if you can find a Toyota or a Lexus at a price range like that, or even a Honda, and it's running pretty good, just make sure a mechanic checks it out before you buy it. Those are the best ones you can find if you can find one that doesn't have, 200-something thousand miles, which I wouldn't advise paying that kind of money for. They might still last a while, but you don't pay 10 grand for some vehicle that has 200,000 miles on it. Wu-Tang-01 says, Scotty, I'm looking for an '06 Forester with 148,000 miles for $2,800. Is it a good buy? What red flag should I look for? Okay, they have problems with head gasket leaks. So, first thing I do, you got to pay a mechanic or watch my video, how to tell if your head gasket's blown. Buy one of those $30 kits. You can check it yourself. If the head gasket shows it's blowing and the blue liquid goes from blue to yellow, don't even think about buying it. Road test it seriously. See how the transmission feels. If the transmission isn't shifting right, downshifts wrong, upshifts or doesn't shift right or clunks, don't buy it then either. And of course, you want a mechanic to check it out, but check all that stuff first. And if any of those bad, walk away from them. They can be decent vehicles and they can last a while, but they can have problems too. So you want to do all those tests, and if they pass your test, certainly have a mechanic put a scan tool on it for at least 20-30 minutes to look at the data to see if there's anything else hidden inside it. They can be okay cars, and $2,800 isn't much for a car these days, so you might get a good deal, but you don't want somebody else's problems. So check all that stuff first. Brian T says, Scotty, need your help if you can. I got in a fender bender parking lot Monday night, 3 days ago. We exchanged information. I forgot about calling the police. The guy said it was his fault, but now their insurance company says that it's my fault. Unfortunately, you're probably having the screws put to you. I have seen that happen so many times. Wait for the police. And he also mentioned that he only has liability, so he doesn't have any coverage for himself. Well, one, you get a car, you only have liability, you're really sticking your neck out. That's life these days. There's a lot of crooked people out there. And over the last 52 years, I have seen scores of my own customer get screwed over by people doing the same stuff. It was the other people's fault. They said it was. Then they go and they report it to their insurance company that you hit them. Like they ran into you in the back, right? They say you backed into them, and they lie about where it happened, and you have no proof. That's why you want the police report for any of that stuff. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. You're at the mercy, and it sounds like it's a really sleazy insurance company, which doesn't surprise me at all. I see that all the time, and people's words, you can't trust them. Now, if this ever happens again, get your phone out, film the whole thing. Film the guy saying, it's my fault. Then you got it on tape. No one can complain. He admitted it's his fault. See, here in Texas, an oral agreement is binding, so if somebody admits they're at fault, legally they're at fault. They'll lie and say later, I never said that, but if you got proof of them saying it, it's too bad, But you're probably between a rock and a hard place now. You got a smashed up car, so you crunch, it's big damage. It would cost many thousands to fix that, and odds are they're not going to pay for anything. You got to call the police. You got to film it, and if the guy admitted it, you got to film the admissions too. Don't trust anybody. People lie like dogs these days. It's not just these days. I saw people do that 50 years ago too, Kyle says, Scotty, love your videos. Looking forward to your app. Is it possible for noise reduction in an old car? I got an '09 Sienna, it runs strong, but I want to make it quieter. Sure, I got a video on how to make your car run quiet like a new car cheap. I show how you can. You can buy all kinds of insulation. You can go whole hog. You could take all the seats out, and then you could do the floorboards, and even you could take the top off, put insulation there, and then put all the top back on. You could take the doors apart. You can put sound insulation in there. There's anything as far as you want to go. The sound insulation itself doesn't cost that much, but it's relatively labor intensive. Put it on the firewall. You can do it to your heart's content if you want. There's plenty of companies out there that sell insulation material for sound insulation. That's the big business these days. Trans Am says, Scotty, I'm looking at buying a 1999 30th anniversary Trans Am. It's got 74,000 miles. T-top, automatic. Check engine lights on. Yellowing driver's seat. Missing some badges. I'd pass on that if I were you. The Trans Ams, they were starting to build them really like crap, cheaper. The last really good Trans Am that I was in, late 60s, early 70s. And they were fun muscle cars with the 4-speed standard transmission and a big V8 with a 4-barrel carburetor on. A 99, to me, it's not really worth anything. If you say it's yellowing seats and stuff and badges are missing, I mean, if you could get it dirt cheap and you want a toy to play around with, go ahead, but they're asking probably a lot of money for it. I'd walk on that. It's not really worth anything. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.